Right, good evening everybody. Just wait for people to gather in before we make a bit of a start. I'll just get the tweet out as well. How are we all this evening? Let us know. Just get this tweet out and then I'll be right there. Right, yes, good evening everybody. And just while waiting for people to get in, seems like a good time to tell you that this episode of the EuroPuck podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. Now, it's playoff time, big stakes, bigger promotions, and DraftKings Sportsbook is putting you courtside with a chance to turn $5 into $200. That's 40-1 odds on any basketball game. All you have to do is pick any team that is still in the hunt for the trophy, and if that team wins, you will receive $200 in free credits. That's right, pick any team still in the playoffs, bet $5, and if that team wins, you cash $200 in free credits. And if basketball isn't your thing, DraftKings Sportsbook also offers great odds and promotions on baseball, ice hockey, and so much more all week long. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN when you sign up to turn $5 into $200 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win, and if they do, you can claim $200 in free credits. That's promo code THPN for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right, so as you can see, because there is no Hayden or Odd Man Rush, as you can see over there on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm on my own this evening. He's away, so I'm there on my own, and I'm going to talk through all the IIHF World Championships that have been going on as they stand at the moment. Let me know in the live chat how you think things are going. Get involved this evening, and we hopefully can have a great discussion. Just be around an hour or so, and we can have a bit of a chat. We can see how the teams have been doing in the early stages. Some have been really quite good. Some have been pretty appalling. Let's be honest. Some have not done well at all, mainly Canada. And we'll just have a look through and see how everything is going. Is everything going okay on the stream? I'll just bring it up on my second screen, just check everything's going okay. Good evening to you, Not Quit. I hope you're doing well. Everything going a tournament of upsets. Yes, it very much is at the moment. Just check that everything's going okay. Yes, it seems to be. Yeah, tournament of upsets. So I've with the preparation that I've done, let's bring up. Let's start with the standings. There we go, and we'll have a look through how the teams have been doing. We'll start in Group A, the Great Britain's group, where Slovakia are the early pace setters. 3 wins from 3 games for Slovakia. They've beaten Russia, they've beaten Great Britain, and they have beaten Belarus. That Russia game was a really interesting one, as we had it a few days ago. When was that Russia game again? That was the 24th, yesterday, of course, where Slovakia beat Russia. Then Russia in second, Switzerland in third, Denmark in fourth, who just about an hour ago have taken an overtime victory against Great Britain. Then Belarus just on the wrong side of the playoffs looking in. The Czech Republic in sixth, who haven't got off to a good start in their tournament either, although they did get an overtime victory earlier on. in the last few days. When was that? It was an overtime victory again yesterday against Belarus. And then Great Britain in 7th. We've climbed a place after the overtime loss today. And then the bottom of Group A, rather surprisingly for a lot of people, I would suspect, Sweden, who have played 2, lost 2 at the moment. They lost by 1-0 to Belarus and by 4-3 to Denmark. So not a good start for Sweden in the World Championships. Then if we look at Group B, it's Germany again at the top, 3 for 3 in Group B. Latvia in 2nd, maybe surprising quite a few people there, particularly Obman Rushor Hayden, as you guys know, who, as I said, is not here with me today, but drew Denmark and Latvia in our kind of UK ice hockey media sweepstake, and he wasn't very happy with those teams that he drew, but as you can see, both of them are currently in the playoffs. At the moment, both of my teams, which I've got the Czech Republic and I've got Italy. I'm the only person, apart from Chris Ellis, who doesn't have a team in the playoffs at all, so not great for there. Then the USA are in 3rd, who lost their opening game, but have since picked up a couple of wins, including a big 5-1 victory over Canada. Finland in 4th. Kazakhstan again just outside the playoffs. Norway in 6th, and then at the bottom 7th, Canada, no points, 3 games, 3 losses, and Italy, no points, 3 games, 3 losses. Italy you can kind of understand probably. Canada you definitely can't. So whilst those are up on the screen, I'll chat to you guys a bit. What do you guys think about the opening so far? I know Notquit said tournament of upsets. Good evening to you, Andrew, who says very surprised Canada and Sweden have no points so far. And I think, yeah, that is very true. And they haven't started well. I know that when I've been talking to Hayden throughout the week, he said that, you know, the Canadian squad is very young, which yes, it is. And I think as we mentioned last week, or might have been a couple of weeks ago, it's almost a bit of a leveller, because if Canada, Sweden, America were able to pick their top players every single time, then they would almost run away with it all the time. If you had your Crosbys, McDavids, Matthews playing all the time, then they might run away with it a bit. Whereas because the players, they're in the playoffs and they can't play for the national side, it almost levels those sides out a bit. And I think that has really done wonders for some of the other teams. They look at Latvia, who managed to overturn Canada 2-0. They shut out Canada on the opening day of the tournament. You've got teams like Germany. I don't think many people expected Germany to go 3-0 to start their tournament. Not quite as well. Yeah, I should point out as well, we've got 2 games that are going to start in just over 5 minutes' time. We've got Finland against Norway. It's a great kind of battle of the Nordic nations there. And then Switzerland against Sweden. So whilst I'm talking live, if there are any goals in that, I will let you know. And I know probably not quite, because you are Finnish, if I remember correctly, will probably tell us any Finland and Norway goals. Andrew, yeah, lack of NHL players coming across has affected the big sides. I think it has, yes, and I think it has affected the big sides, and I think the other teams as well kind of sense this as being an opportunity. Good evening to you, Jamie. It says very interesting playoffs coming up. I mean, I completely agree with that as well. I think it will be a very interesting playoffs, particularly if a team that you don't expect to get into those knockout stages do. Having good domestic league and lots of players in the KHL is how you can reliably make a good team in this tournament. Yeah, I can see that as well. I think that you look at, let's take this Danish side that I watched this afternoon when they played GB. You've got the Danish side whose defence is only KHL and SHL players. The forwards do have more kind of Danish Metal League and players in there, but the defence is solid. And I think it's almost maybe Denmark have come in with the mentality that they don't need to score a lot of goals if they can keep the puck out of their own net. Now, it worked a bit against Great Britain, only conceded 2 goals, won the game. Against Switzerland, they only conceded 1 goal, but still lost the game because they didn't score themselves. And then against Sweden, winning by 4-3 on their opening game of the season, again was a really strong showing from Denmark. I think Denmark are strong. I think, obviously, being a bit biased, I think Great Britain, yes, whilst we're never going to make the playoffs, I think what has shown over the last 2 years is just how far the Great Britain side has come. If we look at the last time Great Britain played Denmark, which was in the last World Championships 2 years ago, Denmark won that by 9 goals to 0. And today, it was a 3-2 overtime victory. And Great Britain, of course, have only really had the Elite Series, that mini tournament that we've spoken about on this before. And we didn't have any warm-up games. I know some other countries played quite a few warm-up games, haven't had that either. Haven't had a full league domestic season. So I think it's really strong for Great Britain in the future. And I know I've seen a few things that have said they're going to climb up in the world rankings regardless of how they do in this tournament, up to 17th from 19th. I believe. So I think there are strong ones there as well. I'm conscious of not rabbiting on too long without letting you guys chime in. The MVP show. Do you guys think this is one of the worst Team Canadas we've seen at the Worlds for a while? I mean, certainly on the opening performance, you'd have to say that perhaps it is. You look at some of their team. They've played Germany, they've played the USA, and they've played Latvia. If you look at the group that they've got to go with, you've got, they've still got to play Finland, always going to be a tough side. Kazakhstan have proven themselves to be a bit awkward in this tournament as well. They've ground out 2 overtime wins against Latvia and Finland. Norway, they have won a game as well. Yes, okay, it was against Italy, but they might have, they might feel like they might be able to put a charge on towards the playoffs. And then Italy themselves, you would feel that Canada will beat that game, even though it's not been a particularly strong Canadian side as we've had it at the moment. So there is a lot to be said for it to be not a very good Canada side. I mean, they're already a game and a bit back. They've got 4 games to play, and they're effectively 2 games back from the playoffs already. So they really need to turn it around quickly, because otherwise we could see a World Championships where Canada haven't made it out of the group stages, which I think would be a big, big shock. But I think there are some surprises in there. I think maybe some people will be surprised at how Belarus have done. So far, they had a big win against Sweden. And then an overtime loss against the Czech Republic. They're on the cusp of the playoffs. Denmark as well. I think some people will be slightly surprised at what they've done. And I think it's just proven to be a really interesting tournament so far. I think what it's proven is you can go into this game and you never know who's going to win what. I think it certainly makes it more interesting for a neutral. Like in previous years, as a Great Britain fan, you would watch a game like maybe the USA against Kazakhstan, and you don't really care too much. But now you feel like Kazakhstan might be able to get something from the USA, and any team could get something from any of the other teams. Finland pretty much every year drop one surprising game, which will function as a wake-up call that there are not legit bad teams in the tournament, and you have to always give it your all. And I think that's right as well. In that, yeah, okay, everyone remembers that. Great Britain, they haven't been in it for so long. They got in it a while ago. But Great Britain are 19th in the world rankings, and they're the bottom side. You've got 16 teams from the top 19 in the world. And I think because ice hockey is starting to become a bit more global, and we're seeing it in recent years with the likes of Liam Kirk getting drafted, you've seen more players from Europe. I think this year, from memory, was the most Europeans we've ever had drafted into the NHL. You've got the KHL is obviously getting stronger and stronger. You've got players going back and forth from there. I think that the teams are becoming much more kind of evenly matched. And we've seen, and I'm sure people like Andrew will be able to say this as well alongside me, that we've seen in the Great Britain games so far that Liam Kirk seems to be a step ahead of his teammates, can see the play a bit better. And that's not saying the rest of the Great Britain roster are bad. They're certainly not. But the time away in America has done him so much good, because you can just see he's a completely different player coming back. So just have a Swig of drink. He is a completely different player. So those two games this evening, the Norway against Finland and the Sweden against Switzerland games are just about to start. So again, if there are any goals in the first period, I'll probably go to around about 7 o'clock, maybe a little bit just before. See if any of those games, if they get a goal in the first tournament, we'll let you know, and we'll do it live here on the EuroPuck podcast. But let's have a bit of a look now at the results so far in the World Championships. So what we've got here, we've got Group A on the left-hand side of the screen and Group B on the right-hand side of the screen. So if we just we'll run through the fixtures. We'll run through the results in Group A at the moment. So in the opening game of the tournament, we had Russia against the Czech Republic, and the Russians coming out 4-3 victors in that one. They got 2 goals. In fact, it was a goal just 19 seconds from the end that was the difference between those two sides. So again, really quite close in that one. Slovakia then managed to put 5 past Belarus. It was 3-0 by the end of the first period. In fact, it was 3-0 just 11 minutes in. Slovakia really dominating the start to that. And then we move into what was Saturday. Denmark against Sweden, a close one, and I think a lot closer than people would have thought in that one. Denmark, I don't think many people thought they would go with Sweden, but then again, this was the first time we saw this Swedish side and realised that they weren't going as far as... they weren't doing as well as people would suspect. They've lost their opening 2 games. They really need to pick one up today, because otherwise they're going to be in big trouble. Andrew Kirk's definitely the star player for GB. Bounds doing well in net and well-deserved man of the match for Tetlow today in game against Denmark. Yeah, I mean, Bounds always seems to pull out his A game when we're at the World Championships. He's always there pulling off some miraculous saves. There is Ben Bounds. Oh, and Norway have apparently scored. Thank you, Not Quit. So good start there for the Norwegians. Not so good for Finland. Norway now replace Finland in the playoffs as it stands at the moment. Of course, we're really early on in this game. What was that, about first minute? Second minute. Norway have scored thanks to Mattis Olimb. He got 21 points in 34 regular season games for Wolfsburg in the DEL this season. So a handy player there as well. So then we'll just carry on then. So yeah, Denmark 4, Sweden 3 in Group A. I'm going to run through all of Group A first. GB, they were a bit slow to get going, finding themselves 7-1 losers to Russia. Again, it was 4-0 at the end of the first period, and the game had just had it from then, really. And then we move on to Switzerland against the Czech Republic, 5-2 to Switzerland. Again, it was... they were just more consistent throughout the game, really. There were a couple of early penalties for Switzerland, but a 2-0 second period put them on the front foot, and then a 2-1 third period. Bearing in mind that the Czech Republic also swapped their netminder out at the start of the third period. So difficulties there for the Czech Republic. And then the game against Slovakia, GB against Slovakia, a really close game. We all kind of thought, well, certainly I did as well. I think I was out at the time. When was this? This was on Sunday. I was getting some bits to do some DIY when the game first started, and I got messages from Anthony Russell, who I'm sure might pop up in the chat later on. I think he said he was having his dinner at the moment. 25 seconds in, it took Slovakia to score against GB, and kind of we all thought, oh, okay, this is not going to go the way that GB wanted it to. But they managed to pull it back. Liam Kirk at 2 minutes and 3 seconds into the second period. Slovakia had to change their netminder due to an injury to Conrad. But then it was only 2.5 minutes after that Slovakia went 2-1 up again, and no matter what GB did, they couldn't quite get it back, and they ended up losing by 2-1. Belarus then managed to beat Sweden by 1-0. It was a third period goal, 33 seconds into the third period. I think that was a shock that most people didn't expect to see. Switzerland beating Denmark 1-0, another close game there. Slovakia then beating Russia 3-1 was a result that I don't think anybody foresaw coming, or the Russian Olympic Committee team, I think it is at the moment, because they're not supposed to be called Russia. And then what have we got finally? We've got the Czech Republic against Belarus. Again, another tight game there, 3-2. The Czech Republic beating Belarus. That one actually needed overtime yesterday evening. How much of overtime did it take? 1 minute and 23 for them to get past Belarus. The first game in Group A that went to overtime as well. And then, as we know, that finished about an hour before I started this. Great Britain falling 2-1 down to Denmark. And I think the big thing that Great Britain suffered with here is penalties in the overtime period. They took 2 penalties in the overtime period and spent most of it on the penalty kill. And the result was that basically, eventually, the defence broke down and Denmark were able to get the extra point. But GB have got the point that they wanted to lift them off the bottom of Group A. And I was talking to Hayden before I came on here, and we kind of both agreed that even though there is no relegation this year, I think a good thing for GB is that if they can finish not at the bottom and kind of go away with the mindset of, even if there was relegation, it wouldn't have been us anyway. That is, that will be good for GB. They've got some games which the teams they're playing, they've got to play Switzerland, who I think are the strongest of the teams they've got to play left. They've got to play Belarus, who that could be a tight game, could get another overtime out of that. And then they've got to play the Czech Republic and Sweden, which is a bit of an unknown entity, because in normal situations, you'd say, well, Czech Republic and Sweden, GB won't really stand too much of a chance. But they've been playing so poorly at the start of this World Championships. They might kick into gear by the time that GB come around, but they've been playing so poorly that perhaps GB might fancy the chances a bit. Maybe not necessarily a victory, but maybe they could get something out of those games. So still 0-0 between Sweden and Switzerland, but as Knock would have said, 1-0 between Norway and Finland. If we move into Group B then, we have got, the opening game, it started quite strongly for the German side. 9-4 victory against Italy. Now, Italy might have felt that they had a chance here. 2-2 at the end of the first period, but the Germans just completely changed their mindset, completely turned the screw in the second period, winning the second period by 5-0 to put them 7-2 up. And just really, that just killed the game off. And whilst the third period was 2-2 as well, Italy just didn't really stand a chance of getting back into that game. Then if we have a look at the next one, so then there was the big shock. Latvia beating Canada by 2-0. Now, this was the first game for Canada. Nobody saw this result. Canada 0, Latvia 2. I don't think, as someone, if they'd have bet on that scoreline, they'd have probably made a lot of money. If we just have a look at the statistics from the game, Latvia only had 17 shots, Canada had 38. So great work there from the Latvian netminder to keep a 38-shot shutout. The Latvian netminder in that was Matis Kivlenkis, who has been playing in the AHL. He had a couple of games in the NHL for the Columbus Blue Jackets. 3.4 goals against average this season, but spent more of the time with the Cleveland Monsters in the AHL. A great start for Latvia there. Germany then consolidating their position at the top with a 5-1 victory over Norway. And then Finland against the USA. I think a lot of people thought this might be a close game, and it proved to be that. Finland winning by 2-1. And then Latvia against Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan, this one went to a penalty shootout after being 2-2 at the end of 60 minutes. Nothing in overtime. And then it needed 8 penalty shots each. And eventually Kazakhstan won by 4-3 in the shootout to win by 3-2 overall. Norway then beat Italy by 4-1. Kazakhstan then beat Finland by 2-1. So Kazakhstan have had a really good start as well in this tournament. Then the USA against Canada, the two kind of heavyweights in hockey, and that was a runaway victory for the USA, really. 5-1, a 3-0 second period there really consolidated that. Latvia then beat Italy by 3-0. And then another kind of, maybe some people were thinking of Germany, the informed side, Canada really out of form, having lost their first 2 games. 3-1 victory for Germany against Canada. And that was yesterday evening to really put Germany, as I said, 3 from 3 at the top, and Canada 0 from 3 at the bottom. USA beating Kazakhstan by 3-0 yesterday as well, just to so that was not yesterday, that was earlier on today. 1 goal in each period there for the USA, meaning they take the victory over Kazakhstan. So if we'll jump it back to the standings, we can see how things look at the moment. As I said, live scores at the moment mean that Finland and Norway have swapped in that 4th and 6th position in Group B. Good evening to you, Anthony. Yes, Norway leading Finland, Russia losing to Slovakia, Germany pumping Canada, Kieran Long finally playing for GB. The world has turned upside down. Not quit. What's my take on having majority of your national team consisting of naturalised players? I think Kazakhstan has a lot of Canadian and at least 1 Swede on the team. I'll get elite prospects up and have a look at that for you. I mean, I think there is a place for dual nationals. I know a lot of the Great Britain side used to be dual nationals. It kind of does depend on. I think, in my view, they should have been trained in that country or spent some time in that country. I think what is slightly not necessarily off because it's well within it, but having players who are kind of have parents who are 1 Kazakhstan and 1 Canadian, but they very rarely go to Kazakhstan, but they will play for Kazakhstan because they don't necessarily know they'll get into the Canadian sides. So yeah, I think you've got 3 Kazakhstani Canadian sides. It's Canadian players, in the Kazakhstan side, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Kazakhstani and Russian players in that side. So you've got 10 players in that team. I mean, everybody in that Kazakhstan side, apart from the 3 netminders and 5 outskaters playing the KHL or the VHL. So, which I think is kind of what you would expect from Kazakhstan. But I think as long as they're not completely, as Anthony says, this dual GB 1994 all over again, where I think pretty much every single player bar 1 was a dual national for GB in 1994 when they were last in the World Championships. So, and there's certainly something to be said for it. But of course, if they're legitimate players for that country, unless the IIHF comes down hard and says, no, you must only have a certain number of dual nationals in your side, then I think as long as they're the best players that are eligible to play for that team. Right, so I've been going about half an hour now. I've covered all the standings at the moment and the results, and obviously I'll keep our eye on the standings so far as they're going on in the 2 games this evening. Still just the 1 goal to Norway in either of those 2 games. What I thought we'd do is give kind of a mid-term report. As I'm sure many people get mid-term reports from school and half-term reports, and just kind of give the teams, this is where we're looking for your interaction as well, kind of a rating out of 10 for how they've been doing so far in the World Championships. And I thought 16 teams, a couple of minutes on each team to give me a chance to say it, and then for it to go through to the stream and for you guys to give your... Oh, it's a goal for Sweden. Sweden have taken the lead against Switzerland. Sorry to interrupt myself. 9 minutes in, Sweden have taken the lead against Switzerland by a 1-0. I'll just wait for it to come through and say who scored that one. What I found interesting is that Great Britain at the moment have more points than Canada and Sweden in the World Championships. And Canada are now the only side, I saw this again on Twitter earlier, Canada are the only side not to have led a game in the World Championships. Jesper Froden for Sweden, who's played for Skellefteå in the SHL. 40 points in 52 regular season games for Skellefteå. 44 in 64 in total after the playoffs as well. Has put Sweden ahead in their game against Switzerland. So, yes, I thought I'd give every team a rating out of 10. We'll go just in... How we'll do this. We'll start in Group A. Let's start in Group A, and then we will work through from there. And we may as well just go down the standings, really. So we'll start at the top of Group A. And that is, of course, with Slovakia, who I think for a team like Slovakia, they've won 3 from 3. They've beaten Belarus, they beat Great Britain, but that game against Russia was a really strong one for them as well. And I think Slovakia, you can't ask for much more than winning 3 from 3. And I think for that, you've got to look at, well, for me, it's a 10 out of 10 for Slovakia to start with, whether you guys agree or not. 3-3, 9 points, obviously 3 points for regulation time win. And yeah, that's my score for Slovakia anyway. One interesting thing, and I will get to it later, but with Norway beating Finland at the moment, Canada are 2 games back from the playoffs with 2 to go. So they really need to start winning or they might not make it into the playoffs. So Slovakia for me, 10 out of 10. 3 wins from 3 games. You can't ask for much more than that. Now, Russia. They started off really strongly. 2 wins. Obviously, they beat the Czech Republic and Great Britain, who, as things stand at the moment, are the 2 sides that are towards, well, they are the 2 bottom sides in Group A. But they did have a loss to Slovakia, which perhaps you wouldn't have expected. So maybe you knock a couple of points off for that, maybe give them an 8, 8.5, something like that. Again, I'll be interested to see what you guys think in the live chat. I mean, naturally, I think you're just going to go... The scores are going to come down as you go further down the list. 2-0 now for Sweden in that game against Switzerland. Let me just get that up for you. So that's 2 goals in the space of 95 seconds for Sweden. Adrian Kemp, the Los Angeles Kings player, 29 points in 56 games for the LA Kings this year. He's been with them for 4 years now. And Sweden are really taking control of that game against Switzerland early doors. Andrew, Slovakia made it hard work against GB, but agree 100% win record and beating Russia. Can't disagree with a 10. Yeah, I think that's true. And Russia, again, you knock a couple of points off perhaps for losing to Slovakia, which is something that you perhaps wouldn't expect. Slovakia, potentially dark horses in this tournament. We'll have to see how it goes throughout the course of this. Slovakia 9 out of 10 because there's always room for improvement. True. I mean, they're only conceding an average of 1.3 goals per game. Slovakia get a 9. Can't give anyone a 10 for within 3 round-robin games, even if it's Russia in there. Okay. I mean, I think you give them a 10 if they ended up winning 7 from 7, wouldn't you, really? From the round-robin stages. So then Russia, again, a couple of marks off from there, maybe an 8 there from Russia, because they're still in a good position, don't get me wrong. Particularly with the way things are going at the moment, with everybody having played 3. So we're almost at the halfway point of the group stage. Russia in second place. Can't complain too much about that. Switzerland started off really well. A couple of wins. And so they're finding themselves on the wrong end of the result against Sweden at the moment. But a couple of wins for Switzerland early on. They ground out a 1-0 victory against Denmark. 5-2 victory against the Czech Republic. I'm not convinced we've seen the best from the Czech Republic yet in this tournament either. But Switzerland probably up there in around the 7 and the 8s as well so far. Obviously that might come down a bit if Sweden carry on this course and end up putting 5 or 6 past them. But it's about time we started seeing Sweden playing the way that we thought they would be able to. And Denmark as well. I think Denmark, for me anyway, Denmark are probably up there with around a 7 and an 8 as well, because although they found themselves on that the wrong end of that 1-0 win the 1-0 defeat to Switzerland. I don't think anyone, and I might be wrong here, but I'm not sure that anybody really thought that Denmark would do as well as they have done early doors. Whether the Swedens and the Czech Republics kick themselves into gear and knock Denmark out of the playoff spot, or whether Denmark can try and find a way to hold on to it. They've played Sweden, they've played Great Britain, and they've played Switzerland. So they've still got to face Slovakia, Russia. So they've still got to face those top teams in that group. So they might find themselves dropping out of the playoffs. Be interesting this time next week when to come back into this, when I think most of the group stages will be, they'll be well underway. When does the group stage finish? On the 1st, which is when I get the calendar up. Yeah, this time next week. So when we do the podcast next week, obviously we'll have finished the group stages. We'll be able to do a proper kind of autopsy of some of these teams if they fail to make it. Yes, thank you to Not Quick, who says that Finland have tied it. It's Ati Ottamar has tied it for Finland. He's spent the year with Lokomotiv Yaroslavl in the KHL. Not too many points, 17 points in 57 games, but he's tied it for Finland at 1-1, which means Finland go back into the playoff spots as things are at the moment. Belarus again in 5th. They've won 1, lost in overtime 1, and lost in regulation 1. They lost to Slovakia on the opening day. Then they beat Sweden 1-0. That was a good, hard victory for Belarus. And a 3-2 overtime defeat to the Czech Republic. Don't think they can be too harsh about that either. If you were going to pick teams at the end of the group stage who wouldn't make the playoffs, Great Britain, of course, would have to be in there in Group A. But then you'd feel like Denmark and Belarus would be there anyway. So at the midway point, for Belarus to only be 1 point outside of the playoffs, I think they've done well, kind of 6 and 7 out of 10 there for Belarus to start off as well. I think they got caught out of the gate a bit against Slovakia. And I think they have turned it around, 4 points out of possible 6 in the last 2 games. I don't think they would complain too much about it. I mean, if they do that again, 8 points might not be enough to get into the playoffs, but maybe it will be enough to sneak into 4th place. We'll have to see what happens over the next week. And then we get to Sweden, who their rating's probably going to change significantly if, depending on if they hold on to this 2-0 lead as it is at the moment. Because if they go 0 for 3, then you've really got to feel that Sweden are probably getting a 0 out of 10 if they go 0 for 3 in it so far. 0 for 3, can't be having that from Sweden. Not a team that's had so much success in the World Championships in the past. Czech Republic, again, they managed to get an overtime victory. So they've got 2 points from a possible 9. Not strong for them there either. And they've not had a good showing so far in this World Championships. Hopefully they will kind of pick it up and get something more from the World Championships. You feel as though the Czech Republic are a side that need to get themselves into the playoffs. So Martins, when was the last time GB stayed in the top group of the World Championships for 3 years straight? I'm not 100% sure I know the answer to that one. Anthony, I know in the chat's probably able to get that up for me, probably faster than I will be able to. Somebody knows. Probably really long in the early days when the World Championships were also like the Winter Olympics. Because don't forget, Great Britain have won a gold medal at the World Championships / Olympics in 1936 in Berlin. They won the gold medal in the ice hockey, and it's kind of all gone downhill from there. And then Great Britain at the bottom of Group A. They've only got 1 point from 3. However, if you look at how Great Britain have done in previous years, you've got to say that, yes, they were caught out against Russia, but they've gone from a 7-1 defeat to a 2-1 defeat and then an overtime defeat. Great Britain are getting better all the time in this tournament, and I know that British fans in particular will go, oh, we're really happy with the way the team's played in this tournament. 6, 7 out of 10. Yes, the Russia game wasn't what we wanted, but in those final 2 games, really strong performance from GB. So I don't think, even though as it stands at the moment, bottom of of Group A, they've got a point. Don't forget Canada and Italy, or Canada in particular, don't have any points so far from their 3 games. So we'll just finish up then and we'll move into Group B. It's now 20-7. So we'll move into Group B where Germany, 3 from 3 at the top. I'll bend to popular opinion from Anthony and Andrew and Not Quit as well that say 9 out of 10 because they haven't won 7 from 7 yet. Anthony, GB can hang. That's all they need to do this year. I think from a GB point of view, and my point of view in GB anyway is, yes, okay, it doesn't matter if they come bottom of the group this year because there is no relegation this year. However, I think from a progress point of view and a kind of morale and a yes, we can do this and we deserve to be here long time point of view, if they can avoid finishing 16th out of 16 and say, we wouldn't have got relegated anyway, I think for me, that's going to be really strong for Great Britain. Yes, okay, we might not get another win. I think if you're looking for a win, then I think Belarus is probably the best option, considering the other teams are Switzerland, Sweden, and the Czech Republic. So maybe Belarus is the best option, but they've been playing well. But I think if we can maybe pick up another overtime loss, get another point, just get ourselves a couple of points. I think Italy have played Germany, Norway, and Latvia. So they've got Canada, the USA, Finland, and Kazakhstan to play. I think it's unlikely that Italy will get themselves a point. So if we can say, oh yeah, we wouldn't have come bottom anyway, I think that's good from Great Britain. Of course, as there are with any World Championships in any sport really, you've got your powerhouse countries and your not so powerhouse countries. Look at the Football World Cup, the Rugby World Cup. Football, you're looking at Brazil, Argentina, Germany, Spain, those kind of countries. In rugby, it's always kind of New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, England. You're always going to have these powerhouse countries. And I think if Great Britain can just kind of progress a little bit, get a little bit closer, maybe, I know they're going to rise in the rankings a bit, but go from 19th up to 17th. Maybe they finish penultimate, 15th out of 16 this year. Then maybe next year they target 14. Maybe they get a target, a regulation time win or 2. And just try and progress gradually up. And it kind of, I don't want to kind of sound, and some people like Anthony and Andrew know my roles within Great Britain hockey, but yes, we're not going to see it instantly, but to have this sustained, we've got to look at the British development, because this group of players have been together for quite a while, and eventually the people at the top are going to start dropping off. Just look at Jonathan Phillips today. 100 games for GB. He's not going to get 200. He's probably not going to get 150. So we need to start bringing this new generation through, and I think we need to look at it from a sustainable point of view for GB. What we don't want to do is not have the players coming through and then dropping down into Division 1, Division 2 again and being there for a while. Anyway, back to Group B. Latvia, again, I think a lot of people are surprised by Latvia as well. 2 wins and an overtime loss for 7 points out of 9. They beat Canada, they beat Italy, and they lost on penalties to Kazakhstan. So they've still got the likes of Germany, USA, Finland to come. In fact, they've played the bottom 3 in that group at the moment. So maybe their position is a little bit kind of false at the moment. They've got to play Germany, USA, Finland, Norway. They're the other top 4 teams out of the 5 in that group. So maybe it's not quite, maybe it's not quite true. Maybe you look to see them lower down come the end of the group stages. Anthony, if anyone can argue about the sustained development over a long period of time in British hockey with a lot of losses on the way, it's you. Yes, all right. If anyone does listen to the Nottingham Lions commentaries, they'll know how many octaves my voice went through when we won a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so USA, they lost their opening game, which I think it was only 2-1 though against Finland, and then they had the 5-1 win against the 5-1 win against Canada, and then the 3-0 win against Kazakhstan. I think that realistically, the USA, they're getting stronger within this tournament. They will be up there towards the end of the group stages. Finland as well. They've only played 2 at the moment. They're now drawing with Norway. A win, an overtime loss, and at the moment it will go to overtime as well. Perhaps Finland would have hoped to beat Kazakhstan, but if you're picking up points in every single game, which Finland are at the moment and are as it stands, you can't complain too much that with the way they're doing. Not quite. Finland will always have a hard time to have comparable depth compared to other countries that have cities with more population than our whole country. Yes, I know that when I was watching the Eurovision Song Contest, yes, no points for GB. For the United Kingdom it is in that, isn't it? And my partner was talking about like San Marino, and she wasn't even sure where San Marino was. The population of San Marino is smaller than some towns here in the UK. It is insane in some respects. Finland, as you said, depth there, but Finland, they always do okay in the World Championships. You'd expect them to be in the top 4 in that group, although I think that is I would argue Group B is the stronger group than Group A, because you've got your Canada, your USA, your Finland, Germany. Like, I think those 4 would be the ones you'd expect out of that group. But Canada really need to turn it around to be able to do that. Finland currently drawing 1-1 with Norway. Norway in 5th spot on the outside looking in. Lost the opening game to Germany, but then beat Italy. Without wanting to be too presumptuous, I kind of feel like beating Italy is almost par for the course. I mean, they're conceding 5 goals a game on average. So it's not great from an Italian point of view. 9-4, 4-1, 3-0. So you almost feel like teams will pick up the victory against Italy. Kazakhstan, 2 penalty wins against Latvia and Finland before losing to the USA. Again, I mean, they've got 4 points. They haven't killed off anybody in regulation yet. So that's why they're on 4 points and are in 6th place rather than having 6 points or in 3rd place. So they are, and again, they've come against Latvia, Finland, and the USA. They've still got so they've played probably the harder teams in the group. They've still got to play Germany, of course. But they will probably think about playing and picking up a few more wins. Canada, well, I mean, what can you say about Canada in this World Championship so far? 3 games, they've scored 2 goals in 3 games. They've conceded 10. They've lost all 3 in regulation. They have played Latvia, the USA, and Germany. So maybe the saving grace for them is they've played the top 3 in that group: Finland, Norway, Kazakhstan, Italy. Maybe Canada can sneak themselves in. What's already pretty much a certainty is they're not going to top the group, because they're 3 games back from the top of the group and they've only got 4 games left to play in the group stage. So, Canada find themselves coming up against a Russia in the first round of the playoffs, which would be, maybe an early exit for Canada. And then Italy at the bottom, where I don't think realistically we expected Italy to do much in this World Championships. I mean, correct me if you believe I'm wrong, but I think the 3 losses in 3 games, I think we were kind of expecting that. And you come into the World Championships, you think, right, Italy and Great Britain, they'll be bottom of the groups. And that's what has really come to light. Anthony Russell, 2 goals in 3 games. It's Nottingham Forest numbers. They're a football team, for anyone who's not 100% sure. The difference being, Anthony, is that 2 goals in 3 games in football, you can still get a couple of wins and a draw with that. In ice hockey, 2 goals in 3 games is not going to do you a great deal, given the higher number of goals you get in ice hockey. And obviously you can still get to 2 wins and a draw. But yeah, I think it's I think Canada's problems go beyond trying to score in a football goal. North American teams usually have some problems at the start on the big ice, but this is way beyond that. I think so, yes, to be honest. I think even on the big ice, I mean, yes, okay, the ice is bigger, and it probably does feel a lot bigger when you're out there, but in terms of pure measurements, like, it's not like it's double the size. And I think, and I've seen it, and I'm going to cause myself some problems with the people at the Nottingham Lions here, because I know it's been said there before, we don't play as well on the big ice where there's a bit more space, but you've got to be able to adapt to these situations. And I'm not being funny, but they know that it's on the big ice. It's always on the big ice. And it's only in the same reason that you don't have the trapezoid. You just adapt to it. Not sure what's up with Canada at the moment. It feels like nobody has gelled. It's 20 guys skating about in the same shirt rather than a team. Yeah, I think there is perhaps some of that as well. If let's have a look at the Canadian roster, because I know it is a youngish roster because all the top Canadian players are in the NHL, trying to get that Stanley Cup, which they so desperately want. If of course Elite Prospects is going to load for them, which it doesn't look like it's going to at the moment. It's just, we'll do it on him. You've got players. None of the players jump out at you as being the NHL stars, and I think that's the problem that the North American sides have, as well as the bigger ice that Knockwood has come out with there. I think it is just, here we go, we've got it up now. Canada. So there's a lot of AHL and NHL players in there, a couple in the KHL as well. But you look at the average age, it's less than 24 is the average age of the Canadian team. And I'm not sure if they've got the experience in there that they need. For a lot of these players, you've got players there. Mikhail DiPetrio, 21 years old, AHL goalie. A couple of NCAAs in there, WHL defenseman. You've got Justin Danforth from the KHL. You've got another couple of AHL forwards. Did Canada send their Spengler Cup roster by mistake? Well, I don't know. I don't know what Canada are. Do they struggle a bit because the NHL has been pushed back slightly because of the delayed start and everything? Have they not got the players that they normally get to choose from, or are they just not gelling and struggling in this World Championships? Be interesting when we come back next week, and I believe that Hayden will be with me. Don't know if we'll do it live or pre-recorded. I mean, from my point of view, I prefer it live because I can interact with you in the live chat and bounce off you a bit, particularly when I'm on my own. But it will be the end of the group stages. If Canada don't make it, I think there's almost got to be quite a bit of an autopsy as to why Canada didn't make it out of the group stages of the World Championship. You have a look at the world rankings. Canada, the best side in the world. Now, I'm not saying that they have sent the best side to the World Championships, but the number 1 ranked side in the world don't make it out of the group stages of the World Championships. You've got, and again, no disrespect to some of these teams, but at the moment in the playoff places of that group, you've got Latvia, who are ranked 10th. Yes, okay, the USA and Finland are ranked highly. Finland are ranked 3rd, USA are ranked 6th, Germany are ranked 7th, and Latvia are ranked 10th. And Canada are ranked 1st. And they're not performing at this World Championship. Yes, I think some of it has to do with the squad, but you would think even what I would almost call the second-tier Canadians would be able to get themselves into the playoffs of the World Championships, and that's taking nothing away from the other countries. But I know something is not right with that Canada squad. Anyway, right, it is now 5 to 7 our time. I'll put us back onto there. And yes, I think that will just about do it for this episode of the EuroPuck podcast. Whether you've watched us live today, caught up with us, if you can yourself. I know that today was very kind of short notice for a lot of people. It was short notice for me as well. I had a number of other things going on. I didn't know if I'd do it today or tomorrow, and it depended a lot on external factors, and I wanted to tie it in around the Great Britain games so we could watch those. But if you like it live, let us know, and we'll see if we can get a slot every week that this will be live, particularly for next season. And I will bring the World Championships to a close, and then we will. I know Hayden is going off to Canada, so we'll have a bit of a break over summer, and then hopefully come back next season. Still 2-0 to Sweden in their game against Switzerland, and 1-1 between Finland and Norway. Yes, Anthony, do it all again tomorrow on his stream on Twitter. Banners on the wall on Twitter, and bannersonthewall.wordpress.com is his website where he talks all things in the second and third tier in the English League. Yes, not great, even though I had to multitask with the match. Yes, well, I appreciate you being there with us. But if you have enjoyed today's show or any of our other shows, you can check us out on Twitter at EuroPuck Podcast. And I would say if you've enjoyed myself and Hayden today, but obviously he's not here, you can see him on there at OldManRushYT. If you haven't already subscribed to his YouTube channel, he's getting close to 30,000 subscribers. It would be great if we could get him to 30,000 subscribers in the not too distant future. You can check him out there at OddmanRushYT, or you can check out myself at Chris_Gadsby. And again, we'll be back next week. If it's either be live or it'll be on Friday 9 a.m. British summertime. It will be posted live on YouTube. But that is it for this episode of the EuroPuck podcast. Stay safe, look after yourself and somebody else. And we'll be back next week for the end of the group stage of the IIHF World Championships.